Good afternoon and welcome to your Labor Day edition of the 2020 Economic Recession and Preparation Channel. I'm your host, Tony. Thank you so much for joining. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Today, we want to get right into it. We're talking about more unemployed people and no chances of a second stimulus check. Listen, last week, Thursday, we got the jobs numbers. Another 881,000 people filed for initial jobless claims, lost their jobs. Now, although, let's get some good news, that's better than the 950,000 that most economists on the Dow Jones expected. That's still far worse because this marks the 26th week in a row that we've lost more than 600,000 jobs in this labor market. And although continuing claims have failed, there's still people who cannot get access to the system. A lot of these states are overwhelmed. There was news, as you know, a couple months ago in Kentucky where lines were wrapping around for miles of cars of unemployed people. And so a lot of these people haven't even gotten any unemployment. And the $600 extra unemployment extension ran out on July 31st. And so we're coming closer and closer to the breaking point as this labor market is going to be suffering tremendously. Absolutely dismal numbers here. And folks, we have officially 40 million people unemployed. Unofficially, we have 65 million people unemployed as a result of this pandemic and as a result of things continuing to be absolutely horrible all across this nation. And as a matter of fact, one economist said, in short, the pace of layoffs remains very high. And it appears the proportion of newly laid off people quickly finding another job is falling. At the state level, Florida saw the biggest decline at 12,312 people unemployment claims, while California showed the biggest gain at 39,958. Listen, we have over 30 million people right now that are receiving benefits right now. That's up from 2.2 million from the week before. And that's just the ones that they can process, the ones that are actually processed to get a check. Now we have on top of that another 2 million people in the last 2 weeks who are filing initial jobless claims waiting for their check to come, who knows, October, November. And, you know, what's so crazy about it is that this economy is being propped up totally by the Federal Reserve. It's a smoke and mirrors game, as you and I know. And so what's going to happen is something that's going to be absolutely unbelievable. Today in California, or last week in California, last week Thursday, San Francisco, California announced that over 55% of their downtown businesses have closed up for good. I'm talking about not just restaurants, but office space, leasing space, bars, gyms. All kinds of things have closed up for good. That means they're not coming back in San Francisco. Not to mention the mass exodus of people that's leaving California. The mass exodus of people that's leaving Illinois because of high property taxes and high crime rates that have just gotten out of control. Chicago just had a bunch of shootings this past weekend. It's just out of control. DC had a shooting of a young teenage boy, 18, that people are outraged about. And so crime is going to go up inversely and proportional with unemployment, which is going to go above 10% for the first time as we head past Labor Day weekend. And by the way, let's get into our second topic of the day, the second stimulus check. Now, as you know, Congress has been on recess since this Labor Day. They don't come back until September the 9th, which is that Wednesday coming up this week. So they're not going to breach a deal. I hate to say it, but the second stimulus check, the chances of getting one is going to be very, very slim before November, the election, because of what's going on with this economy. And you have to remember, too, it's a political thing, but it's also an economic thing. They don't have the money. Congress does not have the money to pass a $3 trillion bill. Nancy Pelosi says she can lower it down to $2 trillion. She will be willing to accept that as a compromise. But they don't even have that. Remember now, this is a country we're talking about that did not have money to build the wall completely around to keep us safe, to keep Americans safe. And now we don't have the money for a second stimulus check. So how are people going to make it? How are we going to make it with not a second stimulus check, which is not going to do that much anyway? It might be better if we don't get it, because you see, with this second stimulus check, $1,200 is not going to do much when hyperinflation is already on the way. And next year, the collapse is going to be even in full force, okay? So if you get a stimulus check, right now the odds of a second stimulus check is at 30%. We place the odds at 30% for a second stimulus check before November, and before the end of the year, 40%. So the odds are getting slowly lower and lower. And then on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, we have this economy that's slowing. Now, the reason why we're not going to go into a collapse this year is because I believe that America will be the last domino to fall. Because if you heard the news this past weekend, you know that Australia entered recession for the first time in 35 years. Australia entered a recession for the first time. So other countries are going to feel it, and the United States is going to feel it. But once the dollar drops, that's it. It's depressing. And all of the baby boomers have spent all of their money in stocks and bonds and treasuries and all of that. They've cashed out. Then that's it. There's nothing left to hold the economy up. There's nothing left to hold no manufacturing, nothing that's going to prop this economy up. No more Fed interjections, as they can't keep printing up money forever, which they're not going to be able to do, because this is going to be the start of it. So people are going to be surprised when they don't see another stimulus check coming to them in the last 4 months of this year. And it's going to just cause a complete disaster in the banking system. It's going to cause a complete chaos in the streets. And so I know that a lot of people are struggling, and they're going to be evicted, possibly. And I know that the moratorium has been extended. But if you can, just try to prepare as best you can. Save cash, live together with family members. Huddle together, because that's going to be the way that we make it in these communities, is with family members and friends huddling together, sharing our resources, because soon there's not going to be any more resources left in these big cities. And not only big cities, but small cities and suburban places too. There's going to be a lack of supplies coming in. As you can see, some of these grocery stores don't have the supplies they used to have, and the supplies they have are much more expensive. Same thing with furniture. Same thing with back ordered on supplies like hardware supplies and growing seeds. All of those things are going to become very, very precious. That's the new currency. That's the new commodity. So get prepared, stay prepared, and continue to prepare, because this thing is just the bottom's going to fall out. Last week, the Dow dropped more than 1,000 points on Thursday, September 3rd. And beware of this October. When this October comes, remember now, the Great Depression happened in October. On top of that, the stock market melted up extremely high, just like in Venezuela. The stock market in Venezuela is at 50,000. But does it matter? No, because it doesn't affect the Main Street. The Main Street is hurting and is in poverty. And so that's the same thing that's going to happen to America. They're going to lose first world status. China's going to become the superpower. United States is going to go into a third world status very, very fast here. And so be prepared for a decline in the standard of living the next 2 years, 3 years, because coronavirus is here to stay for the next 2 or 3 years. And despite the vaccine, do not take it. It's not going to be ready. It's not going to be good. Just like this economy, this injections of the money supply is not working. The injections is not helping the dead patient of this economy. Just like the injections of that, pandemic thing is not going to help you. So do not take it. Get prepared and get ready. Stay blessed, everyone. Have a good holiday. Try to enjoy yourself. Try to get out and think positive thoughts and do positive things, because God is still giving us all a breath of air, and we're still above ground. So there's work for us to do, despite everything looking pandemic-like and craziness around us. We're still here. We still have work to do. So be blessed. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you guys after the holiday. Bye-bye.